Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the second part of our story. Let's jump right back in. He allegedly got them into his study, screwed them, and went not in front of hidden cameras. He was okay up to that point, but then they showed up on an internet porn site. He is suspected to have a part ownership in it. Was hushed up partly because it was all he said she said, and there was no proof who posted the pictures. One of the women did get a good chunk of money out of Archie or his wife, no one knows. He owns no property, no business partnerships. His net worth is about $300,000 and falling. Mine is about $300,000 and rising. Archie is a nice guy and his wife doesn't understand him, right? Listen, Karen, I'd love to hear the fairy tale you've concocted, but I'm not the patience. I'm going out for a while to lower my blood pressure. I walk back to the door. I'll be back in an hour or two, and then we'll decide what to do. She followed me to the door, repeating her claim of innocence, and got the door shut her face. I continued walking in the direction Hubie and I had been taking to get to our house, checking the trash cans as I went in the bin on the corner. I hit pay dirt under some papers and such. I had a nice coffee in the D&D coffee shop and even indulged in a real cream puff that Donna makes herself. She keeps the shells in the pastry case, but fills them with egg custard to order so that the crust doesn't get soggy. Absolutely delicious. I read the paper there to soak up the hour. I figured wifey needed to come to her senses or to cook up a better story. I strolled back to the house, took a pee in the hall toilet, poured myself a glass of wine and sat down with my red-eyed wife. So where were we? I believe you had floated the fiction that nothing happened. You were loyal and true, helping the Lovelorn, which is a group you may soon be joining if you don't tell me exactly what's been going on. But I told you nothing happened. Nothing's been going on. Look, you silly cow, vague denials are not convincing. Stuff has been going on for a month or more. So tell me what's happening. I really don't know if you have anything to gain by doing so, but I assure you, you have nothing to lose. As things stand, you're on your way out the door. I know more than you give me credit for, and your story better align with what I do know. All right, I swear nothing happened. I began working with Archie back in May and I was drawn to him. He has human magnetism. At the time our marriage was going stale, boring sex, same old story, and I was feeling old. Archie's well off from old money and is connected to everybody who is anybody in this city. He has his problems too. And he began confiding in me. We started going out to lunch on Tuesdays so that we could talk. Certainly, he didn't want his personal troubles to be office gossip. I think I did him some good. He was really broken up. His wife was sleeping around with unsuitable people. Oh, indeed, it's much better when they sleep around with suitable people, preferably they're betters, much less painful for the wrong spouse. That's not what I mean possibly, but it's what it sounded like. So old father figure Archie began to woo you with the "my wife doesn't understand me" line. Where did he take you to dinner? And what did he give you for gifts? He never gave me anything of consequence, so what little token things did he give you? Some perfume. Took me to a department store the second or third week to help him find a gift for his wife and wanted we went into the perfume department. He wanted something she might think was sexy to inspire her and wanted my advice on what scents might do that. I gave him my opinion. I tried half a dozen and finally picked one, but I only said I thought it was very nice for his wife. Of course, the next time I saw him he gave me a bottle of it. It was quite innocent, right? He suggested perfume for someone you never met. You picked it out one you thought was erotic. He bought it for you and asked you to wear it to connect your body to his face. It was also innocent that you never mentioned him, your shopping expedition, or the perfume to me. I take that back. You mentioned seeing him greeting in your boss, hug, kiss, and hand grabbing the butt cheek. You said she laughed and kissed him as though they were once lovers. Your words, not mine. So where is this perfume that your other man gave you, the one that makes you feel like having sex? I'd like to see it. Try it out. Actually, I left it at work, so you wore it just for him whenever he took you out, because he bought it just for you and he thought it got you wet. Knowing why you were putting it on, mustn't bring it home though, lest hubby find it our little secret. I forget the picture. Where did he tell you to apply the perfume? I know it must look that way, but I wasn't thinking. I was being kind. I didn't want to hurt him by rejecting him, and he's an older gentleman, so he's not so politically correct as people our age. Again, where did he tell you to apply the stuff? As you know, I don't wear perfume, but I do know where to put it. He told me the usual places: on the wrists, the neck, between the breasts. I checked online. He told me correctly. Yes, certainly between your tits, where he was planning to have his nose at some point. By the way, how much did this bottle cost? Why, I don't. I slammed my hand flat on the table with a smack and she jumped. Cut the shit. Of course, you know, he bought it right in front of you and had to have mentioned it to you. He wanted to impress you. So how much? Karen's lip quivered. It was outrageous. $275 for a small bottle. Now we're starting to see the bigger picture in context, Karen. And guys, what you've been doing is called letting the small head do the thinking. In your case, your vertical lips were whispering to you. But do continue. This was still in August, wasn't it? When did he get on to you about your clothing? My God. How? Just go on. Also, you need to tell me when and where you went with him. Well, the first 2 times it was just to a little Italian restaurant in South Philly. After that, mostly in the neighborhood where you saw us. It was the end of August. He said it was where it was happening. He and a number of others had been buying properties there and the area was taking off. I met him at the Blue Squash. It's a Mexican fusion place. He gave me the perfume at lunch. I dabbed some on, and later the waitress asked what the scent was that I was wearing that had her a bit aroused. Did he get there first? She nodded yes, so he primed the waitress to say that when she picked up the plates she was clearing the table. No, he wouldn't have done that. I mean, how could he? Maybe he did. I mean, now that you mention it, I really can't imagine a waitress coming out with a comment like that right out of the blue. He did tell me a lot of bullshit about how I stirred him and such. I paid no attention to his flattery and about your choice of clothing. Geez, that was nothing. Shortly after I first met him in the office, I think we had lunch right around the corner from work. Part of his patter of flattery and good advice, you know. I had such nice legs and all, but I would benefit from a more professional look. I should wear dresses and skirts, but bare-legged with sandals and button-down blouses with a bit of jewelry anyway. The lunches were nothing much. We sort of commiserated with one another about life. Be specific. What did he lead you into bitching about? Well, where my career was going. I mean, Chris Archie's a talent spotter in the city. He got my boss her job and he's helped lots of other people get ahead. He connects talented people in one organization with an opportunity in other organizations. He was telling me about a job with the art museum. That would be perfect for me. It was gossip, of course, but real inside stuff. They don't advertise the good jobs on Monster, you know, and as he had confided in me about his marital troubles, I mentioned what you had said about our marriage and whatnot. Whatnot? Well, you know, us having a chilly sex life right now and difficulties talking about important stuff, not seeing eye to eye, that sort of thing. Excellent conversation. He told you in effect, stick with me, babe, and I'll get you a better job with more money, and you responded by telling him that you hadn't had a good sex in ages. I bet his ears and tool picked up when he heard that. Her eyes watered up a bit. Chris, you turn everything into something sordid. It wasn't like that at all. He was thoughtful and kind. He is a master Karen. Everything he said had 2 sides. On one side he was kind and protective, but on the other hand it was demanding and controlling. We are both seeing the truth like a coin having 2 sides. Anyway, go on the first lunch date across town. The Blue Squash was SOS. Oh, well, after lunch we took a cab back across town. When we were a couple of blocks from the office, the driver damn near took a corner on 2 wheels and I flew across the seat and landed in a jumble on Archie. I was embarrassed to fall all over him like that. You know, Archie had the driver stop the cab right there and we got out and walked around the block to the office. I can read her like a book. You skipped something just now, didn't you, when you were thrown on top of Archie? OW, it's not important, but well, he did kiss me. But look, it wasn't premeditated or anything, just, you know, me being tossed into him, almost a reflex, a thing of the moment. That's all. I stood up. Well, I'll see you after supper. I'm going out to eat by myself. There's no point in continuing this conversation if you keep trying to hide what you were doing. If you're still here, when I get back we can try for the last time for complete honesty. What do you mean, Chris? I called the dog and put his collar on. Good day for the dogs, all that walking. Bad day for me. I'll tell you what happened, you silly cow. Yes, you slid on top of him. You ever have a cab swerve like that for no reason? I never have. As he got in, he slipped the cabbie $20 and a note telling him to take a hard left turn towards the end of the ride. It was planned. You skidded across the seat onto him. He kissed you quite firmly and deliberately, and after a shocked pause you kissed back with tongue work. The next thing you knew, he had his hands on your other places, right? She was horrified. I mean, poleaxed. My educated guess was right on the mark. My God, Chris, why am I talking? You know it like you were there. I'm genuinely weirded out over this. Come on, hubris, let's take a walk. This house is more than full enough of hubris, half-truths, and outright lies with Karen here. Hubris had a nice dump for himself and sniffed up 3 dogs. All in all, a successful walk for him. Sis called me to say Elizabeth Morgan had been in France for the last 3 weeks and wouldn't be back for another month. Plus Archie's been named in 3 divorces, although the records were sealed on 2 of them. The last tidbit. Archie's 66 years old. I thanked her and told her that was probably enough for my purposes. I stopped at a small diner where the floor was clean enough for the dog to lay down. Not that he cared. They had a delicious veal shank with fresh fava beans on special. When I got back I poured another small glass of wine for myself and one for wifey. While giving the dog the shank bone I sprawled out in the chair opposite her. So where were we? Oh yes, you were trying to hold back the knowledge of your first wet tongue kiss with Archie and his first grope of your whatnot, plus how sexually excited you were, no doubt due to the perfume. Now I mentioned before that you were to tell me everything and you're not doing that. I'm serious. I want the bald truth, or you can get your bum out the door right now. You can spend the next few weeks at Archie's house. Elizabeth is in France for the next few weeks, or you can live there as a maid with benefits for all I care. Am I clear on that? Yes, Chris, very clear. How do you know Elizabeth Morgan? I don't know how you know all this, but that's what happened. We were both shocked at our instinctive reactions and stumbled over each other with apologies. We were practically at the office, and like I said, Archie had the cabbie pull over so we could regain our deportment before we went into the building. There was a long pause, I suppose, where she was deciding if there was anything she dare not tell me. The week before last we went to a really great West Indian French restaurant, really just a hole-in-the-wall restaurant, so now you are at the point where you are voluntarily marking yourself with a scent and wearing clothes. He approves of that. Give him easy access to your holes. Is this the week with the undergarments, or did that come earlier and you forgot to mention it? I hit another nerve. She burst out crying and ran out of the room sobbing as she went. I sipped some wine and started to read the paper. She came out of the John about 10 minutes later, red-eyed with a snivel or two. I am so sorry. You knew everything all along. Why didn't you say something and stop me? You never let on. Later go on the West Indian jerk chicken, neon lights, cheap tables and chairs, really spicy, great tasting food. Yes, well, I don't know what brought it up, but Archie had been talking earlier about women willingly wearing uncomfortable underwear like girdles in the old days, and nowadays bras and thongs and such. What cheap uncomfortable things there were that most women didn't know what really good underwear was. Well, and I thought it would be the old line, take off your underpants, in the restaurant line. Archie's an original, all right, something new under the sun. He reached into his briefcase and handed me a very elegant box, saying, here, this is for you, try them out and let me know which is more comfortable, these or what you have on now. Of course, I started to open it. Don't open it here, this is too shabby a place for these, as he tapped his finger on the box. Since I am trying to be honest, we neck like teenagers in the cab back to the office. I knew I had a glum look on my face. Chris, this is really hard for me to kiss and tell. It's not so easy to hear it either, but we need the catharsis to heal. Go on, by the way. Tell me about the panties, what was so special, and the price. He's never been here, honest. He dropped me off at the office in the underpants. I've never seen anything like them. They don't look the least bit erotic, nothing like that at first glance, dowdy even, but pure, tightly woven silk, carefully hand-stitched. He forgot to check the inside. The price was still on them, $75 each, and there were 3 pair in the box, one red, one black, and one white. They were sort of like very short-legged boxer shorts, beautifully made. There was a silk pocket, and you could slide a cotton handkerchief-like thing into the pocket if you needed them to be more absorbent. I tried a pair on at the office, and they were heavenly, like I was naked underneath, only rubbing like silk against me. Of course, they were silk. I couldn't stand it. I was so hot I came home and attacked you that night. I don't remember seeing them. Be serious, I couldn't let you see them. I changed in the office and kept them in the office. The price wasn't left in the box by accident, you fool. You were impress people with money to burn, and it's important for the seduction that you be impressed. Go on to continue. So last week we went to lunch at a French restaurant over on 2nd and Olive. I know you're gonna ask. Yes. I chose the white ones. I doubt that you chose them. You sure? Arch didn't express a preference for the white. Well, maybe now that you mention it, he did anyway. It didn't matter, right? I thought he played her like the master. He was always asking for more, always something that would be easy to say yes to get her in the habit of agreeing, expecting to do things to please him. This is when he asked you to show him that you were wearing his gift there in the restaurant. She went orbital. Jesus H. Christ, Chris. Did you put a hidden mic in my purse? I made sure nobody saw that, and he never mentioned or emailed or spoke about it. Answer me. God damn it, how did you know there's no microphone? Go look in your various purses. See if there's a bug. Seeing is believing. As we mentioned earlier, I have a very active male mind, and I am very good at deductive logic. That's all. You barely understood what he said to you. I understand what he was doing, all right. Whatever. We were sitting side by side in the booth, me on the inside. He asked to see his gift, so I looked around and lifted my dress only high enough for him to see my underpants. See, you interpreted the word his gift to be the underpants he gave you. Equally, his words referred to your glory hole, which was going to be his gift from you. 2 sides to everything. Your conscious mind understood one side, but subconsciously you weren't innocent. You understood where things were going. I don't think so. Oh shit, maybe you're right. Anyway, we had a lovely prefix lunch. The waiter spoke French, as does Archie, by the way, and he ordered for me. It was one of the best meals I've ever had. Mostly we talked about the Democratic Party and what was really going to happen this fall, and the likelihood that you would be working for the art museum by then. We did talk about that. It looks like a sure thing. It really does, even though you haven't been interviewed for the job and you had sex in the booth after all that peeking underskirt, eating sophisticated food and talking. I am ashamed of myself, but it wasn't sex, more like heavy petting. Sick. Oh, not at all. Very erotic sex in public, but hidden, a shared secret adventure, further practice for you to submit to him. I bet he was ready again by the time you got in the cab. I had to, as you apparently already know. By the way, when was he going to put in a good word for you at the art museum, and did he mention who his contact was? She visibly relaxed at what she saw as an easy question. Actually, he did, just after we ordered next week Wednesday. He was having lunch with Tom, hoovering. He's the person to see, so you would have to be nice to him today. And as a correction, you were hoovering Archie. The guy at the museum is Tomas. Hoving, it irritates him no end to be called Tom, and Tomas would never go to lunch with an idiot like Archie. I have lunch with Tomas and Howard Goldman in a local pub 3 or 4 times a year. I offered to introduce you if you recall, but you wouldn't have it. Well, we all value stuff we pay for more than what we can Have for free, by the way. You didn't mention his gift of the nail polish. When did he give it to you? It arrived at the office last week, and the note that came with it? Chris, how could you know about the note, Karen? The note? Well, he knew I didn't wear nail polish, but he asked as a favor for me to wear it today. I just painted it on last night, just on your toes, so you could wear shoes and hide it from me. A sheepish nod from wifey. Well, good. Another visible sign of your willingness to wear his mark and surrender to him completely. What did he tell you were going to do this afternoon? Well, just that he had some antiques that had been in his family for 250 years, and in a beautifully restored house, the museum borrowed several of the better pieces of furniture for the Rococo Chippendale special exhibit a few years ago. They have offered him over $1 million for the desk alone. Well, of course I was interested. I mean, how often do you get a chance to see something like that? And what did you think you would have to do to please Archie and get the good word in with Hoving? Well, that's just it. I was calling a halt to it all, and forcing me to please him was just the end. I mean, I'm married after all. Nothing more was going to happen. I swear I was done with him just as soon as lunch was over. So sweet, innocent. You left the house this morning planning to end the affair before it exceeded Bill Clinton's definition of sex, yet you told the office you would be gone for the rest of the day to prepare to give Archie the bad news that it was all over between the two of you. You went to work prepared exactly as Archie asked you to, with shining screamy red nails on your toes, with matching red silk underpants, with his perfume on your tits. Face it, you were planning to spend the afternoon alone with him in his house. You already had exchanged French kisses. Let him play with your body. You bought some condoms to use at his house, and now you think me dumb enough to believe you weren't planning to screw him. I didn't have any condoms. Oh yes, you did. That's why you about shit yourself when the gay guy said he gave you a cell phone and it was in your purse. If I had looked in your purse, I'd have seen this. I pulled the discarded cell phone out of my pocket, and these I reached back into my pocket and tossed an unopened 3-pack of condoms, lubricated and ripped just like a good little 300. And for be prepared, Chris, where from the trash can on the corner of 6th and Sycamore, where you dumped them when you got out of the cab. That's where they're from. They were tucked together inside a folded newspaper. Look, you dumb 300. And for the son of a witch was setting you up, and you eagerly allowed the old fart to seduce you. Oh yes. You probably see the house, but in his study in front of hidden video cameras, you would have had a poor confusion from that rotter, the least of the blue bloods. Then if you tried to break off with him, he would have had pictures that would ruin you and your marriage in a month or two. When he had screwed you, he could do any damn thing he wanted with you. Oh, I can't believe that. He was really nice, Karen. He's played you like a violin from the start. He got your sympathy, flattered you, promised you entry to what you wanted. You have your nose pressed firmly against the windows of the houses of the upper class, and he knows it. He worked diligently getting you to yield more and more control to him. The worst thing is you decided that you wanted what you thought he could deliver and were willing to have sex with him and dumped me to get it. You knew very early on where this was going, didn't you? No, I really didn't. It was so gradual. Each thing was a little more than before, but nothing. I was a drag on your ambitions, holding you back from the right people. As people run things, you think wear a scent. Let him cover you with his underpants. Wear them for him. Feel how the other half lives. Kiss is forced but impulsive, accidental. Next time, give in as a right. The outrage of almost having a public fornication in a restaurant, for God's sake. Each previous liberty now is due. Stucking him off the first of the 3 holes you were going to give him. Well, he didn't get you to his house to have sex with you today, but that's not his fault, is it? You were willing and eager until you panicked when you saw me. No, it wasn't like that. It was like I was under a spell. I love you, Chris. You think so, but you want to have sex with Archie. You think living with me will prevent you from reaching your goals? I'm too rough, too working class, your starter husband. You want to be in society? That was Archie's hook. You swallowed it, and his juice, hiding it from me because you knew if I found out it would end our marriage, and it wasn't convenient for you to make the break. Not just yet. But I don't love Archie. I love you. You were dumb enough to think that Archie would divorce his wife and enjoy having you as trophy wife. You would inherit a pot of money. When he kicked off, you never checked. He's got less than we have. He owns no property, none. He has a spendthrift trust. The 250-year-old furniture is bullshit. It's his wife's. His wife of 30 years had all of the money and prestige. He's the joke of Philadelphia society, tolerated only because his wife gives out tons of money. The guy is a 304 master, willing to screw anything that comes his way. The only guy in town with a part ownership in a spicy website that lost money. Well, guess what? Remember what I said about the wealthy screwing the wrong sort of people? You're not society, so his wife really doesn't care if he screws you. You are an unsuitable person. They both know he's not going to marry you. You're just the right sort for him to screw, like his wife screwing her personal trainer. Fun for her, no consequences. He'll quit when she wants him to. You picked the wrong one this time, but take heart, learn from this, and you may hit gold next time. I have to tell you that like an idiot. I did forgive her indiscretion, but I certainly didn't forget it. Bill Hoving interviewed her, and she did get the job at the art museum after Christmas. We talked about starting having a family, but before it could happen, Bill mentioned to me as a friend, who had told him the truth of what happened between Karen and Archibald, that Karen was perhaps enjoying a dalliance with a board member James Biddle. He swore me not to give him, as the source of the rumor Biddle is distantly related to old money. But he grew up rough. His money actually comes from demolition and salvage yards. James was recently divorced and genuine wealthy. I didn't fool around this time. I paid an investigator to look into it and got a batch of pictures, them kissing him with his knee pressed between her legs and with his hand on her bum, them walking with their arms around each other. I mentioned the lack of explicit pictures, Chris, unless they're truly nuts screwing in public view or something like that. You're talking about huge costs, $20,000. First, you have to figure where and when they are going to do it. Then you have to get the cameras in place and then get the pictures out and then get the cameras back. You can't believe what his costs paying someone reliable to break into houses, install cameras and such. Probably be cheaper to hire someone to pop him. Give me a break. Look at them kissing with his hands on her bum. They're screwing each other. So I handed her divorce papers. The pictures were invaluable. She thought she was close to reeling him in, and the scandal would end her hopes in exchange for her walking out with nothing but the clothing in her closet. I agreed to a quiet divorce, and to never say a bad word about her Archie or Biddle. What little regret we both had was for the departure of the dreams we once shared. I also agreed she could live with me for a maximum of 6 months so the divorce would not upset her apple cart. Biddle proposed, and she was gone in 3 months. You might ask why I didn't kick her out the door and piss on her head when she was lying in the street. The answer is that I try very hard not to hang on to anger. Corrodes the soul and can dominate your life. When it was clear that we had no life together, I was happy to get her out of my life and move on. It would do me no conceivable good to carry on a vendetta. Frankly, nobody in town cared one way or the other, but why introduce needless discord into your life? There are things I will fight for, but a wayward wife is not one of them. Plus, giving her half of our assets would have cost me about $100,000. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the story. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more intense tales. See you in the next one.